to thank one of my subscribers who prompted this video. They sent in a question via the comment section, and I will make sure that that question is posted here in the video. And it talked about being jealous and them dimming themselves severely as a result of other people's jealousy and what to do about that. And I was really grateful to receive that question, and I wanted to address that. Hi, my name is Tiffany, and welcome to Present for Myself. What do you do when someone is jealous of you? How do you take that? Well, typically we hear a lot of people say, well, if somebody's jealous of you, then they're just a hater, and haters gonna hate, right? They say that in some way, shape, or form. Well, people are gonna be jealous. It's an emotion, and it's just what it is. But what do you do whenever someone says something like that, which is considered a thought-terminating cliche, when we say things that are designed to break up cognitive dissonance? You know that it's wrong. The person that you're sharing your feeling with, I think so-and-so might be jealous of me. They know it's a wrong feeling and it can be very destructive. So it's an uncomfortable conversation many times, or it's an uncomfortable thought. So what we do is we establish these thought-terminating cliches that will take that thought out of our mind, because we don't want to sit with the fact that this person might actually be jealous of me. And so we go into saying things like, well, haters are going to hate. Depending on how it's used, it can be one of those things that just kind of takes us out of the moment and, oh, forget that. I'm just going to live my life. But what do you do when that person who is jealous of you isn't someone who is just a casual acquaintance? What if it's someone who you have to live life with and do life with? What if it's your supervisor who's responsible for your reviews at work? Or shit, what if it's a parent? What if it's your spouse or your partner? What if it's a sibling, or the person who's supposed to be your best friend? What do you do with that very uncomfortable feeling that, hey, I think they might, they're jealous of me. They've proven it out. And we'll get into that a little later about how you can kind of tell. Should it matter? Maybe. It will matter depending on who it is. And your course of action will matter depending upon who it is as well, because you can't always just brush that off, especially when it's in a relationship that is born out of the fact that that person is supposed to love you or care for you or in some way nurture you or bring you up. There are actual parents who are jealous of their children, and they will show that jealousy in the way that they rear their children. Sometimes they'll pit their children against one another. If it's an only child and that child has opportunities that that parent doesn't have, if that parent is not evolved and grown and healthy, then that parent, instead of looking at it like, I'm able to give my child what I didn't have, they look at it more like, you have what I didn't have as a result of all the suffering and struggle that I have to go through. And that child can feel that. Children feel that energy. Adults feel that energy. If it's a best friend, it'll always be this feeling like it's an uncomfortable feeling. And the way that I describe it is like one of those shows where someone says, hey, whoever wins, they're going to win by a show of applause. And they put the hand over your head, and you see your loved ones in the audience and your acquaintances and associates. They're going crazy. They're yelling your name, and they want you to win, and they're just clapping and they're clapping. And then you look, and maybe you see one individual who is supposed to be a loved one or someone who supports you, and you see them and they're just mouthing and they're not really clapping. Their hands aren't even touching. They're just like, and you think to yourself, you really aren't for me. It's a very painful feeling when you come to that realization. Jealousy often is born out of insecurity and lack. It's something that can be rooted in something that happened to an individual in childhood or as they were developing. Maybe there was a lack of security, affection, possessions, and they never really grew out of it or learned to process it. And so they live their lives in that state, always being threatened by someone who seems to have something that they don't. Jealousy is whenever you see someone with something, or a person sees you with something, and they not only want it, they don't want you to have it, and they resent the fact that you have it, and they feel on some level that they can't have it unless they do something that's unscrupulous, or they somehow make you feel badly for having it, hoping that you'll possibly give it up or lose it. Here's some ways that you can tell if someone is jealous of you. Number one, they express insincere compliments. That goes back to what I was saying about that feeling of emptiness you get, or that feeling that something is not quite coming from an authentic place. They're clapping, but their hands are not touching. You just kind of like sit with that and say, I hear you saying these things to me about how you feel about me. It almost feels like flattery. It doesn't feel sincere. It feels inauthentic. It feels more like it's meant to shield you and to distract me from the fact that you really do have an issue with me. Another way you can tell people are jealous of you, number two, is that they criticize your success, but they do it oftentimes passively aggressively. We say a lot of times in certain communities, especially in the Black community, if someone is always putting the word little in front of something you do, or little. Oh, I see you with your little dress on. I see your little car. I see you got your little new car. I see you got your little new job. Or, oh, Jonathan, isn't it nice to know that you got your promotion? Well, maybe you'll start making a little bit more money and get that backyard of yours fixed up. Anyway, with that, congratulations. Passively aggressively criticizing you about things. And sometimes it can be overt. You really do think you need another car? I mean, you already have one. Never, oh, that's wonderful. Now you have an opportunity to do more. It's, do you think you really need more? Because remember, they already feel a sense of lack for what you have. A third way people can show that they're jealous of you is just being petty enough to do things like ignore you. It can be a simple type of ignoring you, like you walk into a room and they pretend like you don't exist, or they walk into a room and they speak to everyone else in there and they don't speak to you. Very immature and petty ways that even some grown-ups, people who are supposed to be evolved and have their own children, and they're supposed to be rearing their own families, will show up in the workplace. It'll show up in communities. It'll show up in a family unit sometimes, where they literally just ignore you and act like you don't exist. They want you to feel like you don't exist. They don't want you to exist because you are in a competition with them. That's how they perceive it, for resources. What resources, you may ask? Maybe it's a promotion on a job. Maybe it's affection within a family unit. Whatever it is, they don't want you there. And they want you to feel like you're not there, because if you feel like you're not there, you're going to feel like you don't matter. And if you feel like you don't matter, then you're not going to show up the way that you normally would. And then sometimes they do things that's kind of akin to ignoring you. Like they try to leave you out of things. They try to make sure you don't show up for that meeting. So they'll keep you out of the memo. They won't send the email to you. You don't get the bulletin all of a sudden. It didn't get on your desk. You didn't get the email about the family reunion or the retreat or whatever it is. You're left out because, remember, in their minds, they're in a competition with you for resources. They're in a competition with you because they want what you have and they don't want you to have it. And if they have any kind of jurisdiction, if they have any kind of authority over that, it's going to matter. But there are things that you can do to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Stick around. So now let's talk about a fourth way you can tell if people are jealous of you. Another way that you can tell, or possibly tell, that someone might be jealous of you is just through overall lack of support. And I want to stick a pin here because sometimes we put too much pressure on family and friends to support our endeavors. It's like every single thing we do, we want them out. We don't even try to get a new audience. It's always like everyone I know that's a family or a friend that's in my family or my friends has to be here. And at some point, they're supposed to provide a launching pad for you, and they are supposed to continue to support you throughout your endeavors. But when you make all of your support, especially if you're doing something on a professional level or what have you, all about your family and friends, it can put a burden on them to always feel like they have to be there. So be mindful that you don't get over into that. But what I'm talking about is just this lack of support, where no matter what you embark upon and no matter how convenient you make it for them to participate, they always seem to not want to be there. They have a reason and an excuse. And again, you have to just be mindful how you interpret that, because for some people, it's not about wanting to not support you. For some people, it's just that they've supported you a lot and it's actually keeping you from growing. But overall, you'll be able to tell whenever everyone else is supporting and that person seems to always have a reason or an excuse, or they're saying something against what it is that you're doing, or competing against you and trying to draw attention away from you. And we'll go into that drawing attention away from you as a strong number 5. When they compare themselves to you and try to draw attention away from you with something they're doing. So let's say that you're about to open up a new business. Well, all of a sudden they have a business idea and they want everyone's attention for their business idea. Or let's say that you and your long-term boyfriend are about to get married, or girlfriend, or whomever it happens to be. And all of a sudden they decide they're going to get married now. You get a new house and then they want to get a new house, or they want to beat you to the punch with news. There's just never anything that you can do where they're not going to jump in and try to take the attention and draw the attention from you. They always want upmanship. There's always something where they're comparing themselves to you. It can get deeper, but those are some of the ways, just some of the general telltale signs that someone might be jealous of you. Once you've determined that someone may be jealous of you, how can that impact you negatively? One of the things it can do to you is it will cause you to hold back. It'll cause you to minimize yourself. You'll always be trying to make sure you don't incite more jealousy in that individual. Number 2, something else that jealousy coming from someone else might trigger in you is you go over into people pleasing. if I try to be nice to them and let them know how much I care for them and how much I, admire them or love them, then they surely won't be jealous of me. They won't be jealous of me if I do this for them and if I give them what I have and if I make sure I share everything that I have with them. Or maybe I could just give up what I have. And then that way that we can kind of be more equal and they won't be jealous of me. What can I do? How much of myself can I give away? You allow yourself to get into compromising situations. You allow yourself to go into places where you can possibly, lose your health. People pleasing instead of doing the work that you know that you're called to do. A third way is that it can cause you to miss out on opportunities that were meant for you because you're not showing up authentically. It's like if someone says, I'm looking for that person that's wearing a red dress and black boots, and you're supposed to show up in a red dress and black boots. But you know that when you wear your red dress and black boots, there's an individual who's always jealous of your red dress and black boots. So then you don't do it. You change. And then what you're looking for and what's looking for you is expecting you to show up a certain way, with a certain skill set, with a certain talent in that red dress and black boots. And you don't, because you're so fearful of making those who are jealous of you upset. And so you miss the opportunity because you've been spending most of your time making sure that the people who might be jealous of you are not upset with you. And I know that it's not easy when that individual is someone who is supposed to matter to you and someone who you're supposed to matter to. But let me tell you something here. This is a revelation that I had that really helped me. It helped me immensely to show up the way that I'm supposed to show up. When I learned that jealousy is like a pathology, it is not something that's going to be quelled no matter how much people pleasing you do, no matter how many times you try to help that person to have what you have, no matter what you give up for that person. Jealousy will not be quelled because it is a them problem. Because what will happen is if they end up getting the very things you have or you give up what you have, let me tell you what they're going to do. They'll find something else to be jealous of you for. Because it's an issue with them. It is not just a momentary, oh, they got this and I wanted it, and then when I got it, I was pleased. No, they have an issue with insecurity. So therefore, when someone is jealous of you, no amount of what you do to make them not jealous of you is going to work. They're going to find another reason to be jealous of you. So stop it. Stop trying to change yourself to be what someone else needs you to be so that they don't feel insecure, because they'll find another reason to be insecure. It's how they operate. It's where they're comfortable. It's what they're set at. It's their default until they get the help they need. So what can you do when you realize someone who is supposed to matter in your life, someone who you wish the relationship was according to how society said that it was supposed to be, a loving and nurturing maternal or paternal relationship, a loving and nurturing sibling relationship, a loving and nurturing marital relationship, or one where you're dating or a partner for life? What do you do? What do you do whenever the management relationship is supposed to be one of mutual respect, where you do your work and I'll critique you and see to it that you're moving through this organization, or that person that you've adopted as your spiritual mentor, or whoever it happens to be, you learn that they're jealous of you, you feel their jealousy of you, and they're not doing anything about it, and they're making your life hell as a result. What can you do? What you can do is do the work surrounding the energy that you might be holding that is causing you to attract individuals to you or to remain with individuals who are jealous of you. A lot of times whenever we were children and we maybe came up in households where jealousy was promoted as an acceptable force and energy, we grow up trying to make that right. And so we find ourselves being attracted to people who are just going to be jealous of us because we think, hey, you know what? Somehow I might be able to heal that part of me if I can make them not jealous of me. And so we might attract a lover, a spouse, or whomever who might be jealous of us. We might attract friends around us because maybe somewhere along the line we were exposed to that energy, but it has never really served us. So do that work to find out, am I attracting these individuals, or am I drawn to that, thinking I can somehow fix what was broken in my childhood? Because let me tell you something, you can't. Why? Because if you're attracting jealous people, then those people are going to be jealous, and they're going to always find another reason to be jealous. And once you do that work, then you can attract people with whom you can have equal partnerships and relationships with, and mutual respect and mutual admiration. And that is a healthy relationship, my friend. Number two, if it's someone with whom you have a relationship that's more administrative, but who you need to be in a mutually respectful relationship with, then maybe you can go through the proper channels, maybe at your work or your spiritual organization or any organization that you might happen to be a part of, and do the proper type of confrontation and, whatever needs to be done in that situation, because you want to be able to have a healthy relationship with individuals who are supposed to be authority figures and role models, or administratively have authority over you. If that can't happen, and if those individuals don't fall in line, or if you're in an organization that's unhealthy or toxic, then it might be time for you to see your way out. Do that using wisdom. Find whatever out whatever out you need, looking for alternatives and solutions. But you don't ever want to remain somewhere where those things aren't being addressed, and where the contributions that you're making and the things that you're trying to accomplish are being hindered. Number three, recognize that hurting people hurt people. Now listen to me. Ooh, yes, hurting people hurt people. And that is a reason that someone can be hurting you because they're jealous of you. But it is not an excuse. Do not excuse behavior that is leveled towards you as a result of someone being jealous and petty and resentful towards you. It is not an excuse, and it's not a reason to stay around that individual or allow yourself to continue to have to tolerate that type of behavior. A fourth thing you can do is just shine. Just be you. Show up as your glorious self, understanding your worth and your value, just like you would understand the worth and the value of someone else. And give the gifts that you were given out to those who need them, because someone needs what it is that you have to offer. You wouldn't let someone being jealous of you keep you from feeding someone who was hungry. So don't let someone being jealous of you keep you from living authentically in such a way that someone sees you and says, if he can do it, if she can do it, I can do it too. And number five, it's not your job to heal them. Remember, if a person truly suffers from the spirit and energy and the pathology of being jealous, regardless of what you do for them, no amount of people pleasing, no amount of giving them what you have, no amount of inviting them into your world and trying to make sure that they have the same exact resources of you is going to change that, because they're going to always find something else to be jealous about. They need to do the work on that level. Everyone needs to do their own work. It's the only way that we become stronger. It's the only way that we become more resilient. It's the only way that we truly actualize what it is that we were meant to actualize. That's what it's about. They're going to find something else. So why not just wake up every day and be you? Okay?